Hey, Joyful Journeyer. Anita Adams here, your host. And today I'm excited to introduce you to Jennifer Urezzio. Jennifer is a prominent figure in the field of personal development and spiritual growth. As a gifted intuitive, healer, and strategist, she has devoted her life to helping others discover their unique soul languages and embrace their true essence. Jennifer's journey began with her own pursuit of self-discovery, which eventually led her to develop a revolutionary system known as soul language. Jennifer is also a master intuitive and author of two best-selling books. Currently, she has trained over 30 practitioners worldwide in soul language, with over 5,000 individuals globally connecting to their soul languages. Today, we're going to dive into how to better understand your soul language so you can listen more closely to your inner wisdom, expand your awareness, and experience more joy in life. Welcome, Jennifer. I'm so delighted to have you join us here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored. I'm excited.
So let's start with the obvious question. What is soul language?
Soul language is a tool that allows people to create a conscious connection with three core energies of their soul. We actually put some tangibility to soul so people can create a better connection so they feel a deeper sense of wholeness and completeness. And so they actually have tangible words to what they know deep down inside. The three categories or the three core energies are mission. And Anita, people kind of mess this up all the time. When I ask people their mission, they give me an outside explanation. My mission is to empower women from blah, blah, blah. No, your mission is what you are here to profoundly experience and then offer that experience to others. The second category is about how you'll be known here or the fuel of your mission. So my mission is called Equalizer. It's all about creating that perfect formula of balance, first for myself and then for others. How I feel that is through my language called Teacher of Integrity. All of my life, I've been able to see where people are out of the consciousness of love. I offer them the chance, or myself, the chance to get back in, which means back into balance, which means back into their manifestation power. And then the third category is about our soulful personality, how our soul prefers to go through life. Mine is called Graceful Warrior, Action, Movement, Courage, and Grace. So I can give a one line to every personal soul and every business soul on this planet. And that becomes our mild marker of consciousness. If we're not being and doing that, we're creating struggle. So my one-liner is I create balance for myself and others through love, integrity, and courage. And that allows me to put consciousness into everything I do. And when we put consciousness into things, things expand. You're in flow. You're one with everything. You have opportunities flowing to you left and right.
Okay, beautiful. I just want to make sure I get this, I understand this. So there's three soul energies, but we all have these three soul energies, right? It's not like you have one or the other. And so the soul energies, mission, the fuel, is that what I heard? Fuel. So how
Mhm.
you fuel your like the energy behind the mission, and then your soulful personality. Okay, great. And by understanding your mission, your fuel, your soulful personality, then you can approach everything in life with intentionality, and it's that conscious evolution, really.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
And when people get their languages identified, they get a one sheet on that language. And there it's right there on paper, ways that you express consciously or ways that it can be expressed in pain or suffering. And so you can actually go, okay, what am I doing in my life that I'm not getting what I want? You can literally tune in or look at your language sheet and go, for me, because I'm a graceful warrior, I would go, oh, look, I'm making war with something again. I'm never going to get what I want if I keep putting that energy into everything I create.
That's kind of cool. So the soulful personalities, is there a list of categories of identifiers? Okay, yes,
Well,
you're
no,
nodding.
so there's 107 core energies of soul across the three different categories. And how we identify a person's soul language is through therapeutic kinesiology or muscle testing. So you need a practitioner who creates a conscious connection between their body and your soul moves their body down a testing sheet. And that's how we determine a person's soul languages. It's not through your birth date, it's not through a test. You can't throw it. And they're your languages this lifetime, they don't change.
That was my next question. I was wondering if as you evolve as a human, does that evolve or change for you? Okay.
No, you just get better at being conscious about it versus living through pain and programming. If they were to change that, I think that would be chaos, right? You just get used to like using these energies and then it's like, boop,
You
nope,
changed the
let's
rules.
right. Yeah, that's not good for me. I don't want that.
Right. And so how does this serve somebody in business?
Well, we can also identify their business soul.
Oh,
So
interesting.
not, yeah, 9 out of 10 times someone doesn't have any common with their personal languages in common with their personal soul or their business soul. And our business energy is pure consciousness. It doesn't have our pain, it doesn't have our programming. So we'll use me as an example. So my soul, personal soul, is much more action oriented. The business energy is much more still in nature. And I remember having a conversation with my business several years ago, going like, where are my clients? Blah, blah, blah. And the business went, go to the beach. I was like, oh no, I've got things to do and emails to send and blah, blah. The business went, go to the beach. And I was like, fine. And I packed up all my stuff and I went to the beach and I came home and I had 3 new clients in my inbox, right? It's really about what you're putting into your business. Are
Mm.
you putting like woohoo? Or are you putting, well, I can't speak my truth? Or, why would anybody want me? Those are all unconscious expressions.
Mm.
So when you understand the business soul, you also understand its agenda, what it's here to create. You also understand its mission, so you can be very clear. And you understand why you're the steward of that business and why you called it in. So you can be really clear about what you're offering and who you're offering it to.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Um, Really cool. So when you work with one of your practitioners or work with you, um, how long is that process of identifying that your soul language?
So the soul identification is a 60-minute session, but
Okay,
the actual identification takes 30 seconds. I mean, not even, right?
really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like so quick. Um, and the 60 minutes is us going through that core energy, creating a conscious connection, and then working through real life situations to move you from unconscious to consciousness. Working with your soul is like liquid nitrogen. And we also work with the body, the divine intelligence of the body. So we're working with soul and body. So we're integrating both spirit and earth. So you can actually manifest versus working with spirit. And when we also work with the body to do the heavy lifting, we're also changing the RNA and the DNA of your body. So you're not keep replicating these patterns.
Okay, that's really interesting. So what you said that you can identify what in 30 seconds?
The 3 individual core energies of the soul. It's literally just I ask permission, I form a connection, I get a yes or no response to 3 different numbers, and then I turn it over.
Okay, interesting. And can you do that over Zoom or do you have to be physically sitting in front of somebody?
Now, I can do it over Zoom. I've taught practitioners how to do this process over Zoom. In fact, most of the practitioners I've never met in physical person.
Yeah.
It's all energy, and with a person's permission, we just form a connection.
Okay. Can we try that here online right now? Is this a bad idea to do on a podcast because of the energy
It's
or is
it's not a bad idea,
okay?
but I think you already had one identified. So let me just do a little check here
Hmm.
if I can.
I thought it'd be interesting to walk people through what that
Of
experience
course.
is like, you know?
Yes, but
So
if you already had one language identified, we don't normally do a second one.
I see, I
So,
see. Okay. Okay. Let's continue with some of the questions that I have for you. So I'm curious to know, how does your soul communicate with you, or how does our souls communicate with us, and how is it different for each of us?
yeah, our soul communicates through our own database of information, right? That's called intuition as well. So I get multiple clicks. I get knowings, I get body sensations, I get visuals, I hear things. When we set up a conscious connection using our body to do that, we do that for several reasons. One, because then it's done exactly the way we ask, and people don't have to worry if they're connected. It is because the body doesn't have free will.
Sorry, I need to stop you for a second. When you say when we set up a conscious connection, do you mean, are you speaking globally? Are you talking about you and your,
During a session.
oh, during a session? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, okay, got it. Carry on.
Right. And so the soul communicates via our database. So for me, I'm going to get a lot of references for Star Trek and science fiction or movie references because I get those and I love those. When working with a client, I will get sometimes their references or I have to translate. Look, I'm seeing Geordi of Star Trek and this is what this means to me, right? Does that resonate with you? But mostly for clients, it it's wasn't there and then it is there. It's just like a pop in my head. So I think when communicating with your soul, it's a series of practices, right? Understanding your database and asking questions. So often people go, okay, I'm ready to hear the answers of my soul. I'm like, well, the soul speaks in very big terms. So do you want to start asking some questions so we can narrow it down? And knowing how your database, your soul speaks to you. Often people will go, I get a lot of information in the shower. Of course you do, because your mind is busy with shower things and you're allowing the opportunity for your soul to speak. And then some people think that they have to have like a sit down like for hours. If you have warrior energy like me, that doesn't work. I need walking meditations, or I need to be doing something. Sometimes I just ask a question and I do some writing and see what occurs. But when we teach it via soul language, we set up a formal connection between you and your three different core energies. And we ask questions that way, if me or a practitioner. And then if a person gets an answer and go, I mean, normally I can tell if a person gets an answer and then they judge it and I go, well. They're like, well, I heard this and I don't, well, let's ask more questions. Right. And I think so often people want their communication with their soul to be like the way I get it or the way they see it on TV. And you really have to understand your own database. I had a client this week got all color references. I was like, okay, so we're going to determine what those color references mean. So when you see that color, you're like, oh, that's what that means. And I want you to start asking, okay, give it to me in another way. Give me a visual or a body sensation so you get more information.
I find that fascinating. When I was starting this journey of really connecting with my soul, there was a lot of that judgment that came up, and it's like, oh, that's my fanciful imagination, and I also expected it to just be in a voice form. Anything other than a voice was again my imagination or just an idea popping in my head. But why did that idea pop into my
Right.
head? Why did that visual of that, beautiful farm come into my mind, and start asking questions about that to explore that. So,
Yeah,
and
and
I,
everything is a soulful answer. It's just the different layers of programming that you and pain that you hear it through.
so
Right.
say
And
that
so
again, everything is, or,
everything, it's
okay.
just the levels of pain and programming that you're hearing it from. And this doesn't count if you have some chemical imbalance. Okay. But so often people hear their soul say more, more, more. And because of pain and programming, what we interpret that meaning is not enough, not enough, not enough, right? The soul is always, asking for more experiences, more love, more abundance, more joy. And our silly human brains hear that it's not enough, right? So you're always getting soulful information. It's just a matter of how many layers it's got to go through before you understand it.
That's interesting. Yeah. And is that part of the developing that database or understanding that database that you're talking about?
I think that's part of letting go of the way you view the world
Mm.
or the way or your belief system, right? I think so often we are we're predisposed of thinking we know what we're saying to ourselves. I mean, this happens in regular conversation all the time, right? My boyfriend will go, well, why did you give me that look? I was like, oh, sweetheart, that look had nothing to do with you. That was all in my head about something totally different. Right.
Right.
Like we are, right. We are always looking at the world from our own point of view. And most of the time, it's not one of love and generosity for ourselves.
Yes.
So I think it's about letting go of programming. The less patterns in your body, the more soul that can come in.
Okay, that's interesting. So how do you decipher between the voice of your soul voice or your inner wisdom and the voice of the inner critic?
Uh, to me, they sound much different. The inner critic is like kind of like a jazz rap song, which is like very fast, very moving, like come on, come on, come on. And my soul is more of a like a beautiful cello, like it's very like easy and still and little movement but grace, right? It's about understanding. Listen, if it's not loving in nature, it's the inner critic. I mean,
Right.
that's kind of just common sense. But I think so often we are so used to hearing the inner critic that it's like the lampshade. We don't even hear it anymore, but we're actually still ingesting that information of the inner critic.
Right.
So it's about slowing down
Yeah.
as much as you can, the human brain.
Yeah, I love how you would attach the feeling to both of those too, and then sort of a sound wave, if you will. Like there's, and when I say inner critic, I'm also referring to the ego, and the inner critic and the ego are often, in my interpretation, are the same, but they can sound differently because the ego is sometimes is coming to you from a place of protection, right? Wanting to keep you safe. So I think it's that voice sometimes that is hard to decipher between the voice of inner wisdom or your soul voice. I like to think of it as one comes from a place of love and one comes from a place of fear generally. But I really love this idea of one is slower and more melodic, and the other is kind of there's a frenetic
Yeah.
energy to it. So that's another. It's a cue that can help us.
Yeah. And
Decipher.
I think ego gets kind of a bad rap. Without ego, we wouldn't get off our couch, right? It's that ego, as I say, on crack, that's trying to keep you in that little tiny box, right? In that illusion of safety, because it's all illusion. And it's also its job is to kind of get what you want out of life. And so sometimes it takes things and runs with it. And that's why slowing down,
Mm.
asking more questions, being really understanding of your big limiting belief. There's only three. You feel unworthy of love, or you believe love is conditional. And going, okay, wait, am I seeing my world again from the viewpoint of unworthiness? Or do I need to pause and
Mhm.
ask myself, if I knew I was enough, what would I say? What would I do here?
What a beautiful question.
Thank you.
If I knew I was enough, what would I do? What would I
What
say?
would I say? What would I do? What would I express here?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. If I
Thank
knew
you.
if I was enough, what would I say? What would I do? What would I express here? Beautiful, beautiful words of wisdom.
Thank you.
Um, any other tips that you may have to help us quiet that noise of the inner critic to really be able to tune in to that soul voice?
Yeah, I don't think you should try to quiet it. I think you should
Oh,
try to love it.
ah.
I used to have this cat. Her name was Mushu, and she would pick at the walls at night, and I would practice love submission with her. And I would pick her up and I would love her and hug her until her whole body went, "Pff," and she fell asleep. I think the inner critic just wants to be loved. I think every part of us just wants to be loved. And when we try to eradicate anything within our system, we're causing conflict and war immediately.
Mhm.
And so you get to go, okay, I heard you. I might not like you, but I love you at the moment. And really embracing that love submission. So the critic goes, oh, I was heard. Okay, I got what I wanted, and can move on to more important things. And based on your soul languages, that there are additional tools to support that. Warrior energy is, going to have to practice as well as deep acceptance first, right? And let go of feeling responsible for the world, right? Where someone who has the soul language pioneer, which is all about forging new roads, that inner critic could be like, we're not going fast enough. We don't have new shiny things. And that's a moment where you have to go, okay, thank you. I hear you want to be creative. Let's set space aside for that. So you are creative. So you are feeling listened to. It's really about getting, really about having an experience and allowing that to take shape in the most loving, generous way we can.
Understanding what you really want to experience. So that's what your soul really wants. So you're
Yeah, and we have to also bring in account the human, right? Like,
yeah, but
I think so often this happens a lot with spotlight, with people who have spotlight in the soul, right? They'll be like, oh, I want to be in the spotlight, but not ego driven. And I'm like, if it was ego driven, okay, let's just accept that. And so we can find all the other juicy parts.
right.
We tend to spend a lot of time judging what we want, what we need, and our desires. And they don't go away. So it's kind of pointless to keep judging them.
Hmm. Awesome. So how can we strengthen our communication skills so we can better receive the messages from our soul?
I think it's about asking questions. The easiest question and most profound question is, what do I need to know today? And
Yeah.
make some notes and come back to it at the end of the day so you understand your database. I think it's about practicing. I know a lot of healers that just rush through their day to help their clients, and they never pause and talk to themselves, their own soul. And it's about awareness.
Hmm.
Where are you putting your energy? What do you want to experience? And how are you going about experiencing it? Are you doing it, as David Hawkins would say, through power or through force? Force is not good. Force takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of pain, and it takes a lot of suffering. You can get there, but it's just not as fun.
Yeah. And what I'm getting from this conversation is that when you really understand your soul language, you can move from that forceful energy into the powerful energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool, beautiful. I know you've got a gift that you want to share with the audience.
Yeah, I'm an empath, right? And I think so many empaths don't know how to use it as a superpower, and they trap those emotions that aren't theirs. So I created what I do is I create content. So I created an ebook that helps people release those trapped emotions that aren't theirs, so they have more use of their power, and so they can start utilizing that gift as a superpower versus as a way to say stay separate from the world, which is what most empaths do.
Right. Awesome. Wonderful. And
Thank
we'll
you.
we'll include the link to where people can find that. Now, if somebody wanted to really dive into and understand their soul language, what's the first step for them?
The first formal step is a soul language identification. It's a 60-minute session. We
Mhm.
identify all three languages. We go through real life situations. We'll do some energy clearing. You'll walk away with tangible tools that you could use for the rest of your life. And then if a person has a business, they opt usually then to do their business soul as well. And then during that session, I teach them how to put consciousness into their business and how to communicate with their business in a more productive, successful way so they can receive what they want.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. All right. Well,
Thank you.
we'll include links for how people can reach out to you and connect with you directly. And if
Thank
they're
you.
looking for something like that, which I think is beautiful. Jennifer, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this conversation. Yeah, I feel like you're speaking to my soul directly, and yeah, it's wonderful. The work you do is important, and if we can, we're elevating the collective consciousness when we understand and our soul, right?
I agree. And thank you so much for providing this forum and for asking such great questions.
Awesome. And Joyful Journeyer, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a review, give us some thumbs up, or share it with somebody. That's collectively raise that consciousness by getting the words out about people like Jennifer. Thank you so much, everybody. So have a wonderful day, and we will catch you next time. Bye for now.